I'm Sophie D'Souza and welcome to my channel Sophie's Stained Glass. Lots of architectural glass videos. Enjoy. If you have subscribed to me, I thank you very much, and if this is your first time, welcome. I have just made a series of videos about designing with a program called Affinity Designer, and it's just how I work. It's probably not the best way to design because I've kind of found my way through it, and I've used, to learn the program, I've used the tutorials that Affinity produce, which are really excellent, much better than the video tutorials I found for other programs. So I would suggest having a look at what I do with Affinity, how I find it useful, and then also going and learning the basics, if you can bear to, because I know it's hard, by using the Affinity tutorials that you'll find links to on their website. So the first video tutorial is a very basic drawing by hand using Affinity, and they have a vector mode and a pixel mode, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two. Then there's a design. The next video is a design I draw up using the kind of straight line and squares sort of tools, and how to import things into your design. And then there's another video where I start to colour in a design I did earlier. So I hope that you can find something in them that's useful. Don't forget that there's a settings button on your YouTube where you can either slow down or speed up videos. And I find it quite useful to slow down videos where there's a lot of information to process, like click here, select this, select that. So slow it down, that might help. Likewise, sometimes videos are much better speeded up. So yeah, don't forget that function. Thank you for watching, and please like, comment and subscribe. File, new. Then you can select from these templates, or you can do your own sizes. So if you wanted to do your own sizes, you would enter your sizes in here and you would tap on create. And I'm going to do A3, but I'm going to turn it round so it's landscape. So I'm not doing a custom one. Now, we are going to do a really simple design, and I'm going to start by drawing two trees. And I'm going to draw one in the vector mode, and I'm going to draw one in the pixel mode. So let's start with the pencil tool. This allows you to draw freehand. So there's my tree trunk. It's not the most elegant tree trunk I've ever drawn. And I'm going to make the width bigger. Use the select arrow will let me specify that I want it to be 2 mil. We're going to go for 2 mil because we know that's how we like to draw everything when we're making stained glass. Now I'm going to draw a nice bushy top. I'm going to go back to the pencil tool, and I'm going to draw a bushy top. I'm using my trackpad, whereas normally I would use my tablet. I'm going to just make sure it goes back to the beginning. Now I'm going to tap on the select and just turn it round a bit and move it down a bit. Now I'm going to colour it in by selecting green, and I'm going to just select my tree trunk and colour that in brown. So I've got my colour up here, that's a funny shade of brown. Okay, that'll do. So here is your little way of selecting. So you can select different brushes here. So that's my mosaic brush that I had up most recently, which is good for doing mosaics, but not stained glass. So there we go. That has been drawn using the vector method. Now, if you go back up here and you select Pixel Persona, I will show you what happens. You select the brush tool, selection brush tool, this brush tool, and that's way too fat. How do I make that smaller? More. If you go to more, oh, how very fat. So let's, gives you the size in pixels. I don't know, does that look about right? It's a bit difficult to tell really, isn't it? And this is the problem. You don't know what size you're drawing. So that actually looks too thin. So I'll edit and undo that. And let's go to more again, and let's make it a bit bigger. So up, there we are, there's my tree trunk. And there's my bushy top. Now, can I colour it in? So let's pick the flood, fill. I only want to select, this one. No, it won't let me. I think I was on the wrong layer. I think that was the trouble. Okay, let's try this again. So we are going to select, and we're going to there we go, that's got it. So now we're going to select a different colour, brown, and we're going to fill. Now I will select this. Oh no, that's no good. I should have put them on different layers. You see, that's the trouble. You can't move. I was going to move this green top over this tree trunk, but I can't because it thinks it's all one thing. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to pop that in the bin like that. No, that's the erase, right? I'm going to draw my blobby top, and then I'm going to start a new layer. So this, where's the layers? These are layers. So I'm going to go here, and that will start a new layer. Now I will do a tree trunk, and hopefully I'll have better success now at treating them as separate objects. Let's just double check. Yes, so that's a separate object. I'm going to try and fill it with a brown colour. So select my brown colour and select my bucket and fill it in. There we go. Now I'm going to go to this layer because that's where this shape is. I'm going to select it, going to pick my colour, going to pick my bucket. There we are. Now I'm going to move this there. It's underneath the tree trunk, which we don't want. So I'm going to go to the layer panel and move it up, and now it's on top. So there we are, two rather naive, shall we say, trees. Now I want to show you what happens when I resize these objects. So I will select both of these by drawing a box around them, and I will shrink it. There we are. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but the tree's outline has got smaller. But if I was to select these and shrink, the tree's outline stays 2 mil, which, as we know, is very useful for making stained glass. So let me show you that bigger. So I've made this enormous, but it's still got a 2 mil outline. Whereas if I make this tree enormous, I have to make it really quite big to demonstrate. Oh my God, it's dancing around the page. Yeah, that's what happens if you go off the page. The outline gets bigger. So it's a bit difficult to show, but there we are. You can see it getting smaller, getting bigger. So that's why it's not good to draw with a pixel package. And the other thing is, really, when you get to enlarging it hugely, because my screen is quite small, it would end up looking like a load of little dots. So I'm just going to press the back button and delete all that. And I'm going to go back into my vector package mode. So here we have, oops, yeah, you see they remain as two discrete objects. There's my tree, which is too big, so I'll just shrink it up a bit. Make it a bit. Actually, I don't like this tree trunk, it's really fat, so there we go. Let's be honest, it's never going to be a thing of beauty. Now, let me go back to layers. Now, I don't want to accidentally disturb this while I'm drawing it, because you can sometimes accidentally select items you don't mean to. So I'm going to go to this layer, and you can tell by tapping on it that's what the layer is, and it's got a little picture here, quite useful. There's a lock there, that's locked. So now I can't accidentally pick it up and drag it or resize it. I'm going to do the same with that. Now I'm going to draw my background. I'm going to draw in the outside lead line. So I'm using this pen tool, which is great for controllable straight lines. So you do a dot, then you go over to the end of the line, you press Shift, which ensures completely horizontal line, and you press another one. Then Shift down, you keep doing that until you go back to here. Now you either double click or you press Escape, because otherwise it doesn't know you finished drawing. Now that's my 12mm line. I'm quite happy with that, except we all know I need a 2mm line, don't we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the opacity of this line. There we go. So that's still there, but I've made it fade. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another line on top of it that is 2mm. And this blue line here is the centre line of my 12mm line, which is where I want my 2mm line. So, off I go again. It will hopefully just locate in these corners, but I will keep my shift down so that I know it's straight. And I will press Escape because I finished. I will press 2mm. If I just get rid of that, you can see this 2mm layer is drawn in. It actually drew it again at the lower opacity, so I'm going to make it fatter. So there we go. Oops. Yeah, if you've still got a certain menu selected, it will keep drawing like that. So anyway, I am going to start drawing the background, and you have to make these shapes complete. Otherwise you won't be able to fill them. So let me just explain. I'm going to draw a grassy knoll. Like this. And I'm going to bring it down to that corner, and that corner, and back up to there, and press Escape. And that is a shape I can now fill by going to Colour and selecting, let's select a nice greeny. That's obviously not a colour you can get in glass. Let's keep going till we get a more glassy colour. Yeah, let's leave it like that. Now, you're thinking hills don't really look like that, that's all spiky. I just wanted to show you how you can control the curves. So you go to this pointy node tool, it's called, and that makes all these little squares maneuverable. So let's go back to the layer and make sure we're on the right layer, go to the node tool, and I'm going to convert these. Tap on that, and I'm going to convert it. Instead of a sharp point, I'm going to make it smooth. I'm going to go along doing that to all of these. And what it will do, you'll see this in a minute, when I finish doing this, you'll see that I'm able to endlessly now edit. It gives me these handles, and I can now, if I click on that, there's my handle, I can move these until I get the hill the way I want it. So, you know, it doesn't really matter how you do it. You can also move the node tools this way and that. And there you go. Now my tree is in the wrong place now, isn't it? But then maybe I'll do another bit of a hilly thing. So let's use a different way of drawing this time. Let's use the pencil tool. Now this time, so like I said, I'm using my trackpad. I normally use a what they call tablet, because then you have a stylus and it's very simple and easy to draw. So I'm going to go from here. So using the trackpad isn't the easiest way, but you want to close it up. There we go. So now let's fill this by going to colour and going to, let's have a darker green. There we go. Now I'm going to select the select tool and I'm going to move it down and I'm going to send it to the back. There we go. And I might just stretch it this way a bit and then move it this way a bit. There we are. Now I'm going to go back to my layers and I'm going to go to my tree. I'm going to select both these layers at once. I'm going to unlock them and I'm going to move this forward. So if I tap on this at the top here, forward one. There we go. Oh, actually I preferred it at the back, so let's put it back at the back. There we go. So I'm sure I've got a 2mm line. I can edit the line by adding nodes. So I might want to add a node here. So there it is. And I can do that. Or I might just want to move this node down. Or flatten that out. Ooh, see all the sorts of weird shapes you can get? They get a bit confusing when you go back on yourself, so don't do that. So there we go. Now, we know, don't we, that we can't cut out this shape. We're going to have to put something in here to allow us to cut it out. And I'm going to do skyy things, want of a better word. So I'm going to go up to, let's start a new layer, layer 2. And I'm going to use the pencil tool. The vector brush tool lets you select different brush types and it lets you play around with pressure. So if you were using a stylus on a, what would you call it, the tablet, the harder you press, maybe the thicker it goes, and the lighter, the thinner it goes. So you can play around with that, but obviously you need a 2mm line. So let's stick with a 2mm line. So, and as you know, we have to close the shape. So let's go to colour. Let's go to blue. Oh, should we have pink? Let's have pink. Pinky, pinky. There we go. I'll just make it a bit bigger by using the select arrow. And I will well, I'll do the order later actually. I'll just draw in a load of different things like this. So go back to the brush tool and let me just, what we want to do is make sure we can draw this. Okay, so I massively overshot there. So what I'm going to do is go to the node tool and bring it in like that. Ugh, they do weird things sometimes. Now let's colour this in lilac. Okay, and we will just mess about with the shapes a bit like that. So if you tap on that, you get the handles. Let's bring that down a bit, and we will just send this a bit further back, a bit further back. Let's go to this and bring it forward. Okay, and I will just make this come to the front again. There we go, it's at the front now. And we'll just keep drawing in bits of sky, in pale blue. So there we go. And we'll just move it up a bit. This one, I think we need to stretch this corner a bit. There we are. Now let's say we could, you see, you can't just fill this in unless you flood the whole background. So what we'll do, let's pick, there we go. So let's do that and let's send it backwards. So sometimes you have to change the position in the actual, there we go. Oh no, that didn't work. There. This now needs to go above it. And we are going to turn on the outside LED. Let's send this one further back. So there we go. So it's rather crude, but it gives you an overview of what you can do. I mean, this obviously is going to be very difficult to cut. So what I'm going to do is select that, select the nodes, and there we are. I mean, they get a bit squashed up sometimes and it's hard to move them, but there we go. Maybe that's a bit easier to cut, and maybe if we move this here a bit and this here a bit, it's a bit easier to cut. I think you'll agree that's not the most beautiful design anyone's ever drawn, but you get the idea. Now, if I was to select this and then go select same fill and stroke, oh, well, let's do stroke weight. Now I'm going to make all the stroke weights that are 2 mil into 6 mil, because that's how it will actually look when it's done. There we go. So you can now see that is impossible. So we'll just move that up a bit. The other thing it's good to do is go to View, go to Zoom, and go to 100%, because that is what it really is. So now we can see that this is actually very, very tiny. But maybe we're happy with it being very tiny. This, that's a no-no, because that will snap. So maybe what we'll do is we will put a little extra line in. So go to my line, start it there and finish it there, and then press escape. I'm going to shrink it a bit because it's sticking out, like that. Now I'm going to press Command and the minus button, and it makes it smaller again. And actually it looks more interesting with a few extra lines in. So let's do that in other places. And let's do one here. Oh, I didn't press escape. So, and let's press escape to end that line. One here, one there, one there. Change that into a curve and press escape. And that is behind the other one for some strange reason. Don't know why. Didn't mean to do that. That's why sometimes it's good to lock. Let's do edit, undo, transform. Edit, undo, selection now. I don't know why I can't see that. Let's bring it to the front. There we go. It was just that it was behind it. So that is what happens sometimes. So that's a little trick for young players. If you can't see it, it's probably behind something else. It's not that it's not there. Let's draw another line in here to here and press escape. Now that's boring, isn't it? That's way too straight. So we're going to go to the node tool, but maybe this will add a node. Yes, it's added a node. There we go. We'll do that, and we'll just turn it to a curve to make it nicer. And we'll do the same over here, except we'll draw it in like that. Oh, see, that's the trouble. If you're drawing on a trackpad, sometimes you do actually weirdly run out of space. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why can't I just colour this in? Well, you can, but it's a bit trickier. What you have to do is go back into pixel mode, and I'm going to make sure where am I going to make sure? Well, I don't know whereabouts on my layers I need to be, but I'll figure that out later. I'm going to colour this bit in a different colour. So I go to paint, and I go to, let's select a colour. It's a bit different, so you can see it's a bit different. So you can see I've drawn that line, but that's no good because it's too thin. So I'm going to go edit, undo paintbrush. I'm going to go to more. I'm going to increase the size of my paintbrush. Let's make it big and fat. Okay, that's probably too fat. Oh, let's leave it and see. Okay, so now we're going to do it again. And you can see that we're colouring it in. It's much easier to do with a tablet and a stylus, but it is possible, but only in pixel mode. Now you can see that I'm going to have to bring this black line here, no, this one here, forward. There we go. So let's just control and minus, and you can see it's sort of taking shape, and you can keep adding detail. So let's not add too much detail because you've got to make it after all, but let's just colour this one in another colour. So we'll go, make sure we're in the pixel mode, we'll select our brush, we'll select another colour, that will do, and we will start colouring it in. Well, that is a horrible colour. Let's see if we can edit that afterwards. See, even a mouse would be better than a trackpad, but I don't have a mouse because I use my tablet. Now, I'm going to see if I can send this back a bit. So I'm going to keep going back until it goes behind there. Now I'm going to see if I can change its colour. Does it change its colour? Doesn't look like it does it? Maybe, has it got a bucket? Yeah, there we go, it changed its colour, but it's the wrong colour. So let's try the bucket again. Okay. Let's go minus again. Yeah, it's a bit weird looking. You won't worry. So that is how you can design in Affinity. I hope it's clearer to you now the difference between pixel and vector mode, and that you can see the advantage of keeping your work in a vector mode. All the individual things you draw, you can select individually, whereas in pixel mode you have to keep putting them on different layers if you're going to be able to isolate them. And also that whole thing about scaling up and down, vector is just more appropriate. So I hope that was useful. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.